Yo, Benny! I don't think he's home, man. Benny, man, yo. Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm MC Savah from the Cankersaurs. You can catch me on funnyordie.com/Cankersaurs, K-A-N-K-S-O-R-Z, you know what I'm saying? But right now, it's all about Benny TV. Yo, because my boy Benny the Gagoots got his own show. And I just want to give a big shout out to Benny. And in honor of that, I'm going to do dope-ass freestyle, man. So he's got to figure out what rhymes with Benny. 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 What rhymes with Benny? Benny. What rhymes with Benny? Benny. He's in the Serengeti. He's hunting for a Yeti and he's always on the ready. And Benny's always merry when he's eating his spaghetti. But right now he's in the desert, so his palms are kind of sweaty. His good friend Freddie, he brought him that Ben and Jerry. And Yetis, they love the Ben and Jerry. So Benny caught that Yeti and we all threw confetti. Yeah, Benny. Benny TV, baby.
Yeah, Benny TV, baby. Woo! Benny TV, we got tonight, go west, young man, go west.
Okay.
I don't even know. I have no sense of direction.
Welcome to Benny TV. I'm Ryan Rizzuti. This is Benny Rizzuti. We're going to hit you with some knowledge on some Westerns. We got a review for you. Stay tuned. It's going to be a fun show.
And that's how it's done, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, this isn't the caffeine talking at all.
That's right. Benny TV, baby. And I had a lot of fun. Fun weekend.
Fun weekend. Busy week. Hectic weekend.
Hectic.
I didn't look at my feet the entire weekend.
No?
No.
I couldn't see my feet because I got so fat eating turkey and stuff.
Well, that's your own fault. That sounds like a personal problem. You gotta learn how to pace yourself.
Feeling good.
Feeling good?
Yeah,
you feeling good? You had a good weekend? You had fun?
I had a lot of fun. It wasn't long enough.
You're hanging out with the family.
Hanging out with the family.
Don't talk with your hands.
Oh, stop that.
Don't talk with your hands.
I'm talking with my hands.
Don't talk with your hands. It's bad for you.
It's bad for you. Had a lot of fun. Had fun with you. We went to the movies.
We did. We're going to talk. We're going to have a review. Oh, yeah, me going to the movies. Who would have thought that? I have an addiction, guys. I'm going to call it the Addiction Network because I'm addicted to movies.
You are addicted to movies.
I have a problem.
But you read, too. You haven't read.
I read once.
You used to
I've
read
read
a
book.
You used to read a lot.
I've read a book once or twice. No, I did used to read. The last book I read was Ready Player One before Ready Player One came out. Last summer, actually.
All right.
I read it. Well, the summer before Ready Player One came out, not this previous summer. And then I read a lot of comic books. I'm really into comic books. I read a lot of comic books. I read articles on the internet.
Yeah, but I mean,
read Goosebumps fan fiction. No, I'm just kidding.
Part of this show, I call this the show about everything. But let's be honest, we talk about movies and books a lot.
Oh, yeah,
talk
movies
about writers
and books.
and movies.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Television. In the world of television.
And the world of television, yeah.
Which is molding with movies as we go with the advent of streaming.
And some good literature every once in a while. Yes.
Well, Netflix has a comic book branch now.
Oh, they do?
Coming out with comic books now, yeah.
Wow. Oh,
they purchased the rights to Millar World, which is the work of Mark Millar, who wrote Wanted, Kick-Ass, the Secret Service, which is Kingsman, the Secret Service.
Yeah.
All of those were adapted into big movies, and he's written a bunch of other stuff.
And
he's
they
a very
were
great writer.
Not exactly comic books, right? They were considered.
They were mostly graphic novels.
Novels.
He does comic books. But the way graphic novels come out is they'll come out as a comic series, then they'll turn it into a trade paperback. It's all very technical. It's all about who you know.
Yeah. But that's good. If they're good, that's something that movies used to only come from books, or maybe a short story here and there. Now they come from comics.
Yes.
Now, movies and TV shows are based on comics.
In talking of what we're going to talk about tonight in our Western episode,
yes,
Westerns were in the 50s and 60s what comic books are now, what comic book movies are now.
How so?
Well, there's many ways. I didn't know how to write an essay. Well, there's the ways that comic book movies are. There's tons of them. They're very popular. They're what everyone wants to be. Everybody wants to be a superhero. Back then, everyone wanted to be a cowboy. That was the way the zeitgeist was, and the world, and the way we treat the actors who play these superheroes the same way we would treat like a Clint Eastwood or a Charles Bronson or
All right, yeah.
those types. And the way that people felt about Westerns is the way that people feel about superhero movies now, and the way people feel of eventually one day will be oversaturated with them to the point that you won't get as many, and they'll be few and far between as we have now with Westerns.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about a few of our favorite Westerns, and then I want to argue that point, that I think that the Western has never died, has never fully disappeared.
It died.
You'd think it did, but really there's Westerns around, and there's Western
I didn't
themes.
say it died. It's not what it was. You would have, 10 Westerns a year. Now you have one.
But then
Two.
and they do some TV.
It's not a
TV
dead
shows.
genre, but it's not a very lively genre.
But it's always around. It always comes back. It has a resurgence.
So are peppermint candies, but you don't see me running around eating them everywhere we go.
Okay. I don't know how we got peppermint candies from Western.
Stop talking
All
with
right.
your hands.
Okay. So let's start about let's talk about Westerns, then we'll do a movie review. in a
Okay.
little
Do you
while.
want to do the review first, or you want to hop right into Westerns and then hop out and then hop back in?
What do you want to do?
I think we should do the movie review first
All
and
right.
then go into the topic.
And then
of Westerns.
hop into Westerns.
All right,
and
like we
get on
discussed
our-
earlier, 10 minutes ago. So we have
Okay.
a review tonight. We both went to the movies together. Surprisingly, I don't know where we got the time to go see the film Green Book. We have a poster of it.
Love that. Love
The
that.
film,
one.
the film Green Book, which is starring. You just gave away the whole review.
Sorry.
Starring Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali. Viggo Mortensen's on the left, Mahershala Ali's on the right. This is inspired by a true story of Doc Shirley, who is a world famous pianist of the
Yes.
Don Shirley Trio, and Tony Lip, played by Viggo Mortensen, who was not a fan of people that weren't his race. Let's put it at that. And he's a very stereotypical Italian man who then becomes the driver. He worked at the Copacabana.
Yes.
Copacabana went under renovations, and he becomes the driver of Mahershala Ali, who is Doc Shirley. And this is inspired by a true story of the tour that they went on through the Deep South.
Yes.
It was a tour of the Deep South in the early 1960s.
1961 to be
1961. Very early 1960s.
Yes, early 1960s, where blacks were not treated like people down south.
No, they were not.
It was
They were
like-
treated It was a terrible time, and he was one of the people trying to be a pioneer and being
Right.
willing to go on tour and travel these states that were not friendly to people of his kind.
right, and he was so talented. He was
Immensely talented.
immensely talented, very intelligent man, and very refined man. Mm-hmm. And the Green Book, for those of you that don't, the Green Book was a book written for African Americans where they could go down south
Yes.
and were welcome. Restaurants they could go to, motels and hotels that they were allowed in, different places they could go. So, and I thought the movie covered all that very well. And they covered the fact that he was a refined African American and a very
Unrefined
unrefined
Italian man by the name of Tony Lip.
Tony Lip.
Or Tony
And,
Vallelonga.
Tony Vallelonga, Tony Lip, and
Viggo Mortensen, not a Italian.
no,
a
he's
Danish man.
a Danish man who, Viggo Mortensen, as far as I'm concerned, he's one of those unsung actors. He's underrated. He's a great actor, deserves an Academy Award for pretty much every movie he's been in.
In my opinion, Viggo Mortensen is the greatest living actor to never win an Academy Award.
Or be nominated.
No,
I don't
he's been
think
nominated.
Oh, he has been.
He was nominated for Captain Fantastic, and I
Okay.
believe he was also nominated for Eastern Promises, if
All right.
I'm not mistaken. But I completely agree that he should have won already, because
Yeah.
he's a phenomenal actor.
And I don't know if he'll even get a nomination this year, but
We don't know. And then Mahershala Ali won 2 years ago
Yes.
for the film Moonlight, which famously won Best Picture in very controversial fashion over La La Land.
Right.
But he he was one of the main leads. He won Best Supporting Actor. He's been in a lot of movies and TV shows since then. Most notably, he was the villain on the first season of Luke Cage.
Oh, okay.
He was also on a show. His first thing I could ever think of him in was a TV show that my parents used to love called The 4400.
All right. Yeah.
Where he was one of the leads of that. He was one of the more powerful characters on that show.
Great actor. The acting all around in
He's
that
been
movie.
around for a long time, and he's finally getting his due as an actor. He's going to be in season 3 of True Detective. He's the lead of that. And Viggo Mortensen, he's an actor kind of like a Daniel Day-Lewis, where he doesn't make a lot of movies. He makes a handful. He'll make one a year, maybe one every 2 years. But every time, his performance is something special. The movie might not be special, but his performance is always something special.
And something else I know about Viggo Mortensen is he is a poet. And he's
a poet, he didn't even know it.
He's a poet, and he knows it. And he's an award-winning poet who doesn't want to only be recognized as an actor. He wants to be recognized as a poet.
Yes.
So he's a writer.
Yes, he is a writer.
He's a writer. So
he's a writer. He's an actor. He's a producer, and he's one of the greatest actors. If there's a film with Viggo Mortensen on, I'm gonna put it on.
Yeah, same here.
He gives great performances in almost everything he's in.
And I know I gave it away already, but I love this movie.
Yeah, no, I love this movie too.
I say go see it. Go see this movie.
I highly recommend seeing this movie. To some people, I know there's been some reviews of the movie where it seems kind of... It is very much like a reverse driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah,
in a way, it's very much like a reverse driving Miss Daisy. But some people in reviews have used that as a negative and have kind of scoffed at a lot of the things they do in the movie. But I think that the movie's so special and the performances are so great and it's well directed by Peter Farrelly. One of the Farrelly brothers, directors of Shallow Hal, Dumb and Dumber,
Something About
Mary, Me, Myself, and Irene, The Heartbreak Kid, among other films that are nothing like this movie in any way. This movie is, I would say this movie is a comedy with dramatic elements.
Okay, yeah, I would say that.
It's a comedy because the comedy is definitely forefront, and Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali both know how to play off each other very well.
Great chemistry.
They have great chemistry to the point you don't know if they're ever actually going to get along. You think this story is going to end where it says in the title card, and these two men hated each other until the day they died. Maybe it does. I'm not going to tell you.
But what I do want to say is the Driving Miss Daisy thing, the only similarity, there's an African American and a white person in a car driving, but Driving Miss Daisy goes through years of a relationship.
This is over 2 months.
This is 2 months of a trip. 2 months, and there's some great scenes with the Copa. There's some great scenes with Tony Lip, with his family, altogether, I think that it's a great movie. I like Driving Miss Daisy. I like this much more. I like the Green Book. I think
this is definitely one of my favorite movies of the year.
It's a very important film for the year as well.
I agree.
As a good movie.
I agree. It covers a lot of bases. I don't really want to talk too much about it without spoiling the movie, but I think every performance is great. I think one of the standout performances in the side characters is the stand-up comedian Sebastian Maniscalco, I believe is how you pronounce it.
I believe that's how you pronounce his name.
Sebastian Maniscalco. You've definitely seen him on Facebook clips or whatnot. Look him up. He's a fantastic stand-up comedian, and he plays the brother-in-law of Viggo Mortensen's Tony Lip, and he's great. He's fantastic in a small role, but he steals every scene he's in.
A small supporting role, but yes, he
steals every scene he's in.
And
some people don't like Viggo Mortensen's performance, saying that it's too stereotypical. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Blah blah. I've met this person. I haven't met Viggo Mortensen or the person he's portraying, but I've met the guy that he's portraying. They exist. They're real. There are Italian people like that even in 2018. So in the 60s, I fully believe that exists.
I have uncles who are that guy.
Yeah, no, I have family members who are that guy.
We have family members, so I didn't see it as a stereotype at all. I actually saw the whole family, when the whole family's together.
It's very much like a typical Italian family.
Like a typical Italian family. So
with more racism. But like a typical Italian family.
things have changed.
Yes.
Things are, yeah.
I'm sure in the 60s that was there, but nowadays that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
For the most part.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not in my family.
Not in our family, but we can't speak for every family.
For every
but
family.
We don't condone racism in any way, shape, or form. It's a
Just-
terrible thing.
I want to move along, but just real quick, I
Thanks.
want to say, no, we want to talk. I just want to say really quick that there was a time when Italians came to this country and Sicilians came to this country. They didn't want to marry out of their own race.
Yes, no, that
So
was a
they
very
were-
big thing.
They didn't want to marry out of their own race. They wanted you had to marry within, you had to
And
marry
that was
an
typical with
Italian.
a lot of nationalities when they first came
Right.
to the United States. I feel like the Irish were very much like that. There was a lot. They were all very much like that, and that was something that over time, as a people, we were all able to get over.
It's changed, but there
Yes,
were.
the world has changed immensely.
When I was a kid, I remember hearing stories of some parents that didn't want to meet if you weren't dating an Italian. They didn't want to
They
meet.
didn't want to.
meet
yeah.
that person. Yeah.
Well, even the film Goodfellas does a good job of showing the whole thing that he's not Jewish, and he has to hide the fact that he's not Jewish to his wife's family.
Right.
And he's wearing the cross the second he goes to the house, and she's like, "You gotta hide that." You gotta... And then when she finds out he's a gangster and everything, the mother-in-law is like, "He's not Jewish. You can't trust these people." That's the way it was back in that time.
Yes.
And I think Green Book does a great job of showing that, as they did in Goodfellas.
Yes.
And I highly recommend Green Book. I highly recommend seeing it.
Definitely.
I don't think there's anything else we need to say about that. I think both Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen give awards-worthy performances. It's a tough
Definitely.
year, especially for a lead actor, because I think Bradley Cooper and Rami Malek, both for A Star Is Born and Bohemian Rhapsody, respectively,
Yes. Yeah.
both deserve acclaim.
and
for
they're
their
talking about
performances.
Hugh Jackman for the movie he did.
The front runner.
the front runner.
The front runner, there's talk of him as well. There's talk of several different actors.
lot
So
of-
it's a
yeah.
very tough race. So, and it's tough to see who's going to be. Are they going to have Viggo Mortensen go for lead actor? Or are they going to have Mahershala Ali go for lead actor? They're both going to go for lead actor. Because the film's about Viggo Mortensen's character, and it starts with that. But Mahershala Ali almost has identical screen time to him
Yeah.
during
Oh,
90% of the
definitely.
film.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a really tough thing to say. I think Viggo Mortensen does have more screen time by probably 5 to 10 minutes, but they're both kind of the lead actor. So that's a very tough
Yeah.
thing. I'm happy I don't have to make that decision.
I agree with you.
So let's cut to a trailer.
Okay.
That's our Green Book review. Go see it.
Yeah,
Watch it
go
on
see
DVD.
it. Don't-
We're going to show a trailer for a mystery movie. We're not going to say what it is, but it's a Western.
All right. Cool.
Go for it.
The Wild West was pretty well tamed by 1913.
I saw one just like it in Waco.
Hey, Pike, you know what I hear? I hear they got one of those things up north that can fly.
That was a balloon, you damned old fool.
No, the old man's right. They got motors, wings, go 60 miles in less than an hour.
Driven to the border by the irresistible thrust of civilization were the remnants of the breed that had made the West wild.
If they move, kill them.
The payrolls were harder to get at. The Army rode the railroad now. But there were still a few trails for the kind who'd be cold before they were tame. They called them the Wild Bunch. Pike had been a gentleman of principle. He still had a principle or two.
We're not getting rid of anybody. We're gonna stick together just like it used to be. When you side with a man, you stay with him, and if you can't do that, you're like some animal. You're finished.
Dutch had dug for gold. He gave up digging.
How many cases did you take from the train? 16 cases of rifles. We lost one on the trail.
He stole it.
Lo quiero vivo.
Barton should have been a lawyer. always argued.
Hold it! Relax, it's just some champagne we ordered.
Sykes had been a gunman in his day. He still had the gun.
We gotta get him back! How?
Gorch had been trying for years. Sometimes he almost worked up to normal.
I want you to meet my fiancée.
Now that's a Western.
That's a Western.
That
was
is a
the Sam Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch from 1969, which is a film that I've watched for the first time last night in preparation for this show because I'm dedicated like you read about.
That's right. Great movie.
It was a fantastic movie. It was the way that it's shot, the way everything looks, it's a testament to the time period and shows that even just watching it now, I could see from a filmmaking perspective how much the world has not copied, but how much it changed filmmaking and how the style, it was one of the first movies to use slow motion and action, the quick cut style editing. It's all hallmarks of the action movies of today and the westerns of today. And it's very different from, say, the spaghetti westerns, which we'll talk about, which are the hallmarks of the western genre and what really made the western genre popular was the spaghetti westerns. And you can take, say, A Fistful of Dollars and Wild Bunch, and they're very different.
They're very different.
They're very similar movies, but they're very different movies at the same time in the way that it's stylized and the way it looks. And Sam Peckinpah is a director that I haven't really watched a lot of his work, and after that, I really want to actually really just dive in and watch all of his work.
I love it. He didn't make a lot of movies,
yes,
but all his movies are memorable. And Sam Peckinpah revolutionized the Western and the action film, the action genre. Excuse me.
Yes, he did. The film stars William Holden, who is an actor I love for the film Stalag 17, which is my favorite film from the 1950s. Ernest Borgnine, who's just the greatest actor. Ernest Borgnine was the greatest. Warren Oates, Robert Ryan, a bunch of other actors, as names that escape me.
Yeah, it's loaded with. Well, one thing that some westerns did was they were loaded with character actors that did westerns.
Yes.
Strother Martin is in it. He plays the little scruffy guy that those of you that remember Cool Hand Luke. He's the one with the famous line, "What we got here is a failure to communicate." He's in it. A lot of those actors have played in many westerns, and to see them all in an ensemble western, that was great. Even the Mexican, the leader of the Mexican army,
yes,
you've seen him around. If you see more westerns around that era, he was I love that. And Peckinpah with action. Peckinpah did where you'd get shot and you'd see it come out, see the bullet go out.
The violence
the back.
for the time is very brutal. For the time, not as much for now, but for the time is very brutal, and they really show the way the hits and everything. And one thing about the Wild Bunch that you wouldn't know, but I would, a lot of the Wild Bunch is borrowed for the Red Dead Redemption video game series.
Which is
the first film is about the character of John Marston, who is a man who used to be a part of a gang who is forced by the government to go after his old gang and finish them off while they're still going on jobs and going after each member of the gang. It's a little different, but that is pretty much the story of the Wild Bunch.
That's pretty much the story.
And watching the Wild Bunch, I was like, oh, this is where Red Dead Redemption got its story. And then Red Dead Redemption 2 is a prequel to that story, so it's like watching the Wild Bunch in their heyday.
Okay.
It's pretty much or the end of their heyday.
But if you're going to watch, if you don't watch that many westerns, but you're in the mood, I would recommend this. This is a western because it's a western that's also an action flick, and it has some, and it has some romance in there, and
Yeah, there's a little bit you could cut out. It is a very long movie. I watched the director's cut.
the director's cut because they did cut it at one time. They cut it for the violence, so they cut.
No, you gotta have the violence.
There's
A
some
movie's
great.
nothing without its violence.
And it is a very to this day. I agree. It's still a very violent movie. There are still scenes that you watch and you're like, they did this in 1969.
I know, it's amazing.
Right. And but Sam Peckinpah had that kind of he had that respect of people. He made a lot of movies that I like. He made The Getaway, which was Steve McQueen and Ali MacGraw, which was not a western, but the violence, it was very similar to a western. And just a quick side note, he made Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, which has been done a lot of times. But he made it with Bob Dylan.
Oh, okay.
Bob Dylan was in a small role he gave him. And so Bob Dylan wrote the music. He wrote the soundtrack. During the filming, he wrote the soundtrack. And he wrote a song that many of you may know, Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Oh, it was for
Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
It was for Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, okay.
So in the Sam Peckinpah, and on the album, Bob Dylan he said this album is dedicated to Sam Peckinpah.
Okay, wow.
Just to let you know how revered
cool.
he was as a Western director.
All right. So that was the Wild Bunch. Now we're going to talk Westerns. We have some more Westerns that we can cover. I think we can go back and forth. I have a list that is very different from your list because I have a man of 2018, and you are a man of the past. I don't want to put a year on it. I'm a man of the present, you're a man of the past.
I'm a man of the past. I am, and I enjoy.
A lot of the films, of Westerns that I enjoy are more films of today, even though I love The Good, Bad, and the Ugly trilogy. I didn't watch all of Good, Bad, and the Ugly yet. I've done a paper on A Fistful of Dollars, so I've seen that more times than I can count. I've watched a few dollars more. I haven't seen all of The Good and Bad and the Ugly. I've seen parts of it.
Yes.
But there's a lot of Westerns that I do love. But there's a lot that I love that are newer.
All right,
Westerns.
and I'm a man of the past. I love the past. But when it comes to Westerns, they've done some Westerns within the past 5 years that I really enjoy.
And some
so
you
I like
don't.
the modern. Some I don't.
One of them's on my list.
All right.
So we're going to cover a bunch of different Westerns. We're going to go back and forth. We're going to try to keep it short so we can go over as many as we can.
All right. That sounds like a good deal.
First one I want to go over is a remake. I've never seen the original. It is a remake, a 2007 remake that you do not like, directed by James Mangold, the director of Logan.
Yeah.
It is the film 3:10 to Yuma, starring Christian Bale and Russell Crowe.
Okay.
Which I think is a fantastic Western, and is the story of a war veteran turned farmer played by Christian Bale, who only has one leg, he has a wooden leg, who has to take Russell Crowe, who is a outlaw, who was the leader of an outlaw gang, to a train in Yuma, the 310 train at Yuma, and the old gang's after him, and he has a ragtag group of people, and the acting is fantastic because it's Christian Bale and Russell Crowe, Ben Foster. There's a ton of other actors that I'm not thinking of, but it's a fantastic movie. You don't like it?
I don't like it, but I would have to watch it again. I didn't find it that exciting. I have to watch it again because the way you described it is great, but a great cast. And it's a movie that's been remade several times, right? I believe this is the third version.
It might be. It might
be the third version. So it's a story, and that's a thing about Westerns. A lot of people, for some reason, you can remake a Western, and we've talked about other remakes in the past, and you'll be critical of them. But when you remake a Western, people don't even remember the original a lot of times. So
that does tend to happen.
So the 310 to Yuma, it's not. It's just that I have to watch it again. It's not. I'm not I'm not judging it against the other 3 Tender Humans. I'm just I have to see it again.
Okay,
it's just
that's
a Western.
fair.
It's just a Western that doesn't grab me.
That's fair. Do you have a
Okay.
Western?
Yes, I do. One a Clint Eastwood Western that
Okay.
I really love and is the High Plains Drifter.
High Plains Drifter.
High
Okay.
Plains Drifter,
I've
and-
seen scenes of it from you watching it.
Right.
I have not seen
And
it.
it's a lot of the Westerns have to do with a town that either someone wants to get rid of the town so they could put a railroad through it, or there's gold in the town. There's, and this is, the town had found out whatever happened, they killed their marshal. The town hired people to kill the marshal, and a few years later, Clint Eastwood comes into town, and the Clint Eastwood that everyone loves with the poncho, the cigar hanging out of his mouth, the beat-up hat, and he comes to, and the town will never be the same again. That's all I can
Oh, of
tell you.
course.
Because Clint Eastwood, and that's one of my favorite. Clint Eastwood's made a lot of movies, westerns that I really like, and that's one of my favorites.
That's one of your favorites?
That's
is
one of
High
my
Plains
favorites. Is
Drifter?
a High Plains Drifter. I can watch that. And as we say, you mentioned the good, the bad, and the Clint Eastwood's made a lot of. So if I want to sit down, I'll say, and I saw that in the movies in the theater. I saw that like 3 times.
Okay, wow,
It was one
okay.
of those movies I took. You gotta see this.
You gotta see it.
Yeah, yeah.
That is definitely on my list of westerns that I didn't get a chance to watch.
Right.
I watched as much as I could in the time that I had.
Right.
Another one I would like to talk about is a comedy.
Okay.
One of the best comedies of all time. It is the Mel Brooks film Blazing Saddles.
Absolutely. It's a landmark movie.
If you haven't seen Blazing Saddles, it's a film that can never be remade. It's a film they can never do again. There's something special about that movie. It's a great film. It's a great parody of westerns, done still in the time of westerns. So it worked even more. They've tried to do, in the past 5 years, you had both A Million Ways to Die in the West, the Seth
Right.
MacFarlane parody of westerns, and The Ridiculous Six, the Adam Sandler
Right.
film, which I can't stand, and you and me kind of do like.
I like
A Million Ways,
A
to, Die in
Million
the
Ways
West.
to Die in the West.
It's not great, but I enjoy the movie.
Yeah, it's not great, but and I thought when we saw it, I thought it was the Blazing Saddles of its time.
You did.
I
did.
did.
fully
I called
think
it that.
And it
but
hasn't really
didn't get-
aged as well.
No,
in the
and
past
it hasn't
couple
caught
years.
on. It hasn't aged. Where Blazing Saddles, I watched it not that long ago, and
Every
it's
time
still,
I watch it, it's
hilarious. They did a great job, and when I find
Look how steady
different,
my hand is. Wow, it's pretty steady. Yes, but this is my shooting hand.
yeah,
I love that movie.
Oh yeah, no, there's so many funny things in that movie. It's a great comedy, but and he touches on racial issues that he couldn't touch on now.
No, there's a lot of jokes and a lot of things that he covers. The whole plot of the film, you can't do in 2018, I don't think.
No, you could do it as a serious, but
Yes, but
it
not as a
doesn't fit.
comedy.
Not as a comedy.
You wouldn't be able to do it as a comedy. You could do it as a serious film, yes.
Okay, now Mel Brooks is known for parodies. Okay, so his parody, like Alfred Hitchcock, High Anxiety, it's a Alfred Hitchcock movie. The Young Frankenstein is straight out This is, I don't consider Blazing Saddles a parody as much as I
It's a
consider
parody
it
of the genre.
of the genre and a spoof.
It's a spoof, yes.
It's a spoof because his story is very original.
Oh, yeah.
But he had some great writers, including probably the greatest comedy mind of the later half of the 20th century, Richard Pryor.
Yes.
Wrote-
Richard Pryor originally wanted to be the lead.
He was going to be
He
the
was
lead,
going
yeah.
to be the lead.
Yeah.
And then things happened and he wasn't the lead.
he wasn't.
And was Cleavon Little?
Yes.
Cleavon Little was the lead and he was fantastic.
He was very,
He's
yeah. he was great.
fantastic in the film.
Yes.
I
he
love
was-
him in the movie.
me
And
too.
Gene Wilder in a smaller role than other Mel Brooks movies, but a significant role and a great role. And the villain is great with
Harvey Korman.
Yes, it's Hedley Lamar. Hedley.
It was a spoof on Hollywood.
When
too.
it comes to jokes, one of my favorite jokes in movies, and my favorite joke in that movie isn't even a joke. It's when Hedley Lamar runs up to the concession stand at the movie theater and goes, "Raisinets." Just the way he does it, there's no reason why that should be as funny as it is. But to this day, that's so funny to me. Every time it gets me.
Mel Brooks got the best out of.
Raisinets.
He did a few movies with Harvey Korman, and Harvey Korman was great in them. Madeline Kahn is it? Madeline Kahn is great.
her whole sawing and dance is
Lily
fantastic.
von Stupp.
Lily
So
von Stupp.
if you
Tired, so
Yeah.
tired. It's great. Let's not harp on that movie for too long.
all
We
right,
take
but
all
I'm glad
day.
you brought that up. That's
It's a fantastic movie.
okay. So now
That's probably the oldest movie on my list. Next to Wild Bunch will be on my list, but we already covered it.
all right. Now I'm going to counter it with a comedy.
Okay.
Okay. One of my favorite. I love the Marx Brothers. The Marx Brothers made a Western that not everybody knows about called Go West.
Go West.
Go West, which also deals with a town like Blazing Saddle does. But this one, and both towns, they want to put a railroad through it. So, Go West with the Marx Brothers. I love it. It's not critically not their most revered Marx Brothers film. I love it, and I think that there's two duel scenes in it that are amazing. There's one where Groucho is going to have a duel with this guy. Shoots. See those bottles? They're in the bar. See those bottles? Yeah. See the corks on the bottles? Says, watch, and he shoots the corks off.
Shoots them all off.
So Groucho grabs a gun. He says, "See that drunk sitting over there? Yeah. See his nose? Yeah. See the fly on his nose? Says, yeah. He says, boy, you got good eyes." And then there's
The Marx Brothers were
and there's
amazing.
Harpo.
They were
Harpo
amazing.
does this duel with the gun and it is priceless. I love that movie. I've watched it with friends of mine that are Marx Brothers fans that didn't know about it, and they laughed. It's great
You
jokes.
can't go wrong with a Marx Brothers movie. You
And
can
Go
never
West.
wrong.
Go West it's probably, I have three favorite Marx Brothers movies. Go West, Duck Soup, and Horse Feathers.
Duck Soup is my personal favorite, but
Yeah.
Horse Feathers is a great night at the opera.
Some people
It's
some
fantastic.
people consider Night of the Opera the
The
greatest.
greatest one. I know Queen
Yeah.
did. So for my next film, I actually want to cover two because we're running short on time. I'm gonna have to leave a little early, and then my dad's gonna take over for the end. Please stay to the end.
Please stay to the end.
Please stay to the end.
We'll have fun. We're going to talk
You're
about
gonna have
some
fun with
stuff.
this old guy. So I want to cover two remakes, so that way we can also cover the originals of both.
All right.
I've seen the original of both films, and in both films, I like the original, but I think the remake was better. One is a remake of a remake, and the other is a regular remake. It is the Coen Brothers film True Grit,
Okay.
starring Jeff Bridges
Yes.
and Haley Steinfeld, Matt Damon, Josh Brolin, and the remake of The Magnificent Seven, directed by Antoine Fuqua, starring Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke, Bae-hyun Kim, Peter Stormare, among others. Let's cover True Grit first. We have a photo of John Wayne, who was Rooster Cogburn,
Yes.
and there's a photo of Rooster Cogburn in the first True Grit. We have another photo of John Wayne from a selection of his westerns. John Wayne is the godfather of the western genre.
I would pretty much call him
He's the godfather, and he's Don Vito Corleone, and Michael is Clint Eastwood.
Okay,
Is
yeah, all
the
right.
best way
I
to
go for
describe
that.
it.
I go.
But we'd be remiss to not talk about John Wayne. We're not going to talk about all of his films. That'd be
No.
hard. But we can talk about True Grit,
Yes.
which won him the Oscar for Best Actor, where he plays Rooster Cogburn. The storyline of the films is the same. A little girl's father dies, and she buys a U.S. Marshal to go after him. A
Right.
drunk U.S. Marshal by the name of Rooster Cogburn, played by John Wayne in the 1960 classic, and played by Jeff Bridges in the 2010.
Was it that long ago?
2011? 2000, let's say 2011 remake done by the Coen Brothers. Like I said, I like both films. I think John Wayne's great. John Wayne is also just kind of playing John Wayne.
Yes.
Because John Wayne's always John Wayne. He's John Wayne with an eye patch. He's great. He's John Wayne with an eye patch. He's great, but he's John Wayne with an eye patch. Jeff Bridges gives one of the best performances of his career as Rooster Cogburn. And I know you're not the biggest fan of the remake like I am. I adore this movie. I think Haley Steinfeld is fantastic. I think Josh Brolin is great as the villain. Barry Pepper is great. You and me had a discussion about this movie a couple days ago, and I said I think across the board the acting is better with each actor playing the counterpart to the first one.
Right.
And the only person that I could say, and you brought it up, that's better is Barry Pepper's role in the True Grit remake was played by Robert Duvall in the original, and Robert Duvall was better.
Robert Duvall was better.
Robert Duvall.
And Clint Eastwood has a cameo. He's hardly known in that. He's the one that gets his fingers.
Oh, okay. He has a cameo in it. Okay.
He has a cameo in it because he wasn't that well known at the time. But I don't know. I'm partial to the first one. I saw it when I was young with my mom and my aunt from Sicily and my grandfather. We saw it in Radio City Music Hall when they used to show movies, letting you know how old. So I saw it on the biggest screen at the time. I still love it. I saw this other one. It was a remake, and it was like, you know what it was like? It was like not as much of a remake as it was like a facelift. It was like a facelift. It was
it's
like
a retelling. It's trying to be closer to the book that it's based off of.
It was like an old Cadillac from the '60s and a Cadillac in the 21st century.
I guess you can
know
say
what
that.
I'm saying? Yeah.
I think the way the Coen brothers build tension in that movie, the way they shoot the scenes, the cinematography is fantastic. The sound design in that film is fantastic.
Okay.
Just across the bar, I think that the True Grit remake, if you want to watch a Western that's come out in the past couple of years, I would highly recommend that as one of them. The other film that I wanted to cover is the Magnificent Seven remake. Magnificent Seven is a remake in and of itself. It's a westernized American remake of Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
Which is the same story, a village, and it's been done in everything. Has a version of this now, I feel like.
Right.
A village is under attack by some force, some evil gang army, and they call upon seven strangers with excellent skills, let it be the Avengers, Suicide Squad, or the Magnificent Seven.
Yes. Seven
outlaws from the West, from different parts, coming together to fight the good fight and protect this town. Whether it be they all have their own reasons, for money, greed, vendetta. The original with Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen, very good movie. Enjoy it. I think Antoine Fuqua brought something special to the remake, and it does feel like almost like a superhero movie with the way these guys are.
Yeah.
With Denzel as Sam Chisholm, who he's a marshal. He doesn't really want to be involved in this. I believe he's a marshal. He doesn't want to be involved in this until he hears the name of the villain. And that piques his interest, and he says, I'll help you. And he gets the help of a no-good gambler thug played by Chris Pratt. And then he gets, what's his name? Goodnight Robichaud, the best gunfighter in the South, played by Ethan Hawke, who has Bae-hyung Kim with him as his Asian sidekick, who is the expert at throwing knives. There's an amazing standoff in the opening of the movie between a guy who has a gun, he has his throwing knife, and doesn't end well for the guy on the other end of the knife. And I love that movie. I think Peter Stormare as the villain is fantastic.
I love that movie as well. And
big fan of that movie.
I'm a big fan also. And now what I said about a True Grit being a facelift, this is a totally different remake. This is an
not the same story.
This is not the same story. They meet differently. He knows some of them, and but they meet differently too. And there's a whole different
characters
feel.
have different relationships with each other than they would.
Different relationships, and
Denzel and Ethan Hawke's characters have a history, which is great because of their history in the film Training Day, which won Denzel an Academy Award. So
Right.
the fact that they know each other and the first time they see each other, it's both like, oh, my man, like, good to see you. Like, they're happy to be working with each other again. And that's the feel you get when you see the two of them
And
on screen
Denzel
together.
in the lead. Denzel in the lead pulling it all together is...
You can't beat Denzel.
You can't beat it.
You can't
and,
beat Denzel.
And like you mentioned Yul Brenner and Steve McQueen, but this is I find this movie separate. I find it separate. And you had gotten me a wonderful gift of
did.
of the original Magnificent Seven, and all of the sequels. So and all the sequels.
Which you didn't see any of the sequels before that.
But I never saw any of the sequels before he gave it to me. Every sequel is pretty much a remake.
Remake of the Magnificent Seven.
It's a remake with different situations, but it's the same thing. It's Chris getting everybody together. And
Yeah.
Chris
And even the
changes
characters, the characters aren't the same name. Yul Brenner's character is a different name from Denzel's character.
from Denzel's character. But so here's a movie that's been actually remade like 6 or 7 times, and the other ones were fun, but the Denzel Washington really hits the nail on the head.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
re- so
I finish up what you were going to say, and then...
that's what I have to say.
All right, perfect. I have to leave in a second, but there's 3 movies I want to cover before I leave.
Okay.
2 are kind of the same movie and similar aspects to this, but they were different. In the year 1994, I believe, it was 94, 2 films came out about the gunfight at the OK Corral. Tombstone, starring Kurt Russell and Sam Elliott.
Yes,
Sam
Sam
Elliott. I
Elliott.
always confuse Sam Elliott and Sam Neill. I apologize. It happens. Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, and Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. And there was the Kevin Costner film Wyatt Earp, starring Kevin Costner as Wyatt Earp, directed by Lawrence Kasdan, with Dennis Quaid as Doc Holliday. I have never seen Wyatt Earp. You've only seen parts of Wyatt Earp. It is a film where, kind of similar to like what we're going on right now with the Mowgli, I think it's Mowgli, the new Jungle Book that's coming out on Netflix in the next 2 weeks, and Jungle Book, which came out 2 years ago, where you have 2 films coming out at the same time, competing with each other. That happened in 94, and also it happened in 98 with, or 99 with Armageddon and Deep Impact.
Okay, yeah.
It happened with Tombstone and Wyatt Earp, where this is a little different, where Tombstone was originally supposed to be a Kevin Costner movie. And due to some issues with the script and other things, Kevin Costner left, went to a different rival studio, and made Wyatt Earp, which was more epic. He had more clout at the time, because it was right after Dances with Wolves.
Right.
So he had a lot of clout. He made this big, epic film. And then you have the Kurt Russell, much shorter, leaner Tombstone, which was supposed to be Kevin Costner, and then he made this big 2.5-hour epic. And Tombstone is stood the test of time as a great Western, and people have really forgotten about Wyatt Earp. Now, last night I watched the gunfight at the OK Corral scene from both films, and I love Tombstone scene. I've watched it a ton of times. The Wyatt Earp one was actually very good. I liked it. I thought that it was, the way it was shot was very good. The lighting was really interesting. The acting seemed very good. I haven't watched the movie, but I was actually impressed. It made me want to watch the film.
It's too close. It's too close. And as I had said to you once before, the gunfight at OK Corral seems to be a Western theme that has been around since probably the first talkies. When they first started doing talkie Westerns, they did that. And I remember Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster as Doc Holliday, and and one of the Earp brothers was Dr. McCoy, DeForest Kelly from Star Trek, and the young boy that's involved with the villains.
Yeah.
The young boy was played by Dennis Hopper.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's been done a lot, and I think that the only problem was it was too close.
It was too close together, I think. But I would say watch both. Tombstone's great, but I haven't seen Wyatt Earp, but it looks like a very good movie, and I've heard that it's a great movie that just, it was too close together, and it's kind of gotten just, it's been almost 25 years, and that film's kind of just gotten thrown under the wayside.
Yeah.
People have forgotten about it. So I would say give that film a look.
All right.
Last film I want to cover before we're going to cut to a trailer, and I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah.
is my favorite Western of all time is the 2012 film Django Unchained, starring Jamie Foxx, Quentin Tarantino, baby. Christoph Waltz got him his second Best Supporting Actor Oscar and his second with Quentin Tarantino. Leonardo DiCaprio in one of his, if not his best performance ever. Samuel L. Jackson, one of his best performances ever. Across the board, an amazing Western, an amazing tribute to the spaghetti Western genre.
Yes.
Which is a genre, the spaghetti Westerns, which they're called spaghetti Westerns because they were derived in Italy. They were made in Italy primarily by Sergio Leone, who directed the Man with No Name trilogy, which features Good, Bad, and the Ugly. He also directed Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yes, another great movie.
Another classic with Charles Bronson. It's a great tribute to the spaghetti Western genre. The spaghetti Western genre was a genre of very violent films shot in Italy with an Italian cast and crew and shooting Westerns, and that's where Clint Eastwood got his start. And there was a Django series starring Franco Nero.
Right.
And that's where he got the name from in some of the music. And he even uses music from Ennio Morricone, who is who did the score for The Good, Bad, and the Ugly and all these other films. And he also brought him to do the score of The Hateful Eight, which is I'm not going to cover because I don't have enough time, but The Hateful Eight's another great Western that you should see, also done by Quentin Tarantino. But that's different. It's more like a play. It's a small area. I would highly recommend watching The Hateful Eight. It's on Netflix. What are you doing? Django Unchained is one of the greatest movies of all time. And it's not that old. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Quentin Tarantino
Watch it.
Made two great Westerns.
You can talk more about it.
All right.
I'm going to go.
Okay, and
Watch Django Unchained.
I'm going to show a trailer.
We're going to show a trailer.
We'll show
right now.
Right now. We'll show the Blazing Saddles trailer.
We're going to show whatever comes on. That's
whatever
what we're
comes on. That's the trailer.
Just
we're
play
going.
it.
You're watching Benny TV.
You're watching Benny TV. I'm going to see you next week.
Ryan Rizzuti, everybody.
Peace out. I'm out of here. Go to the trailer.
All right, we're going to...
Torn from the fiery pages of the mightiest annals of the West comes the supreme saga in the great tradition of frontier drama.
Schwarzes.
He rode a blazing saddle, he wore a shining star. His job to offer battle to bad men near and far.
What's your name?
Well, my name is Jim, but most people call me Jim.
Well, do your best. Let's see. Where were we?
Oh, Rock Ridge.
Rock Ridge. I want that land. Clumsy fool.
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. There might be a legal precedent. Of course. Land snatching. Let's see. Land. Sea snatch.
Hello, handsome. Is that a 10-gallon hat?
So just sign this, right here.
Oh, okay, give us a hand here.
All right, sir.
Work.
The heroic sheriff rallies his citizens in the wildest finish the West has ever seen, or the movies have ever shown.
Ow! Oh, ow! Have you ever seen such cruelty?
And that's Blazing Saddles. I tell you, with Westerns, you can go on and on. There are a few friends of mine, my friend Bernard Hammer. Bernard, we wanted to talk about it. Gunsmoke and Bonanza and The Rifleman were a few Western TV shows. Gunsmoke, I believe, is the only TV show that lasted 20 years, 20 seasons. And it was a lot of fun. Great Western. there's so many more we couldn't show a trailer for Clint Eastwood. We'll probably do another Western, maybe a Western part 2. I want to talk about something I'm really excited about. In the middle of December, I'm going to have the writer and director of a great film that came out on Long Island called Gender Bender. And we're going to have the director and star, Richard Lampone. We're going to have the screenwriter, John Marana. And we may have a few surprise guests. A lot of great comedians were in this. Joey Cola was in this. Kevin Downey Jr., Christopher Brian Roach, that many of you may remember as Mott on Kevin Can Wait. And we're going to have giveaways with this show. We're going to give away DVDs. We have a signed poster. Gilbert Gottfried is in the movie also. And you can find Gender Bender now on Amazon Prime, on iTunes, and Google. So look that up. Look up Gender Bender and check it out. It's a very adult movie, very funny. One of the funniest adult comedies to come out in a long time. Anyway, this has been Benny TV, the Western episode. I'm Benny Rizzuti, and I want to wish you all a great week, and have a great week, and we'll see you again. Same Benny time, same Benny channel. Good night.